owners and salespeople take the fact that someone doesn't respond to an email or doesn't answer a phone call or respond to a text message as getting turned down. And that's not getting turned down. That's not engaging. Building automations is absolutely critical, whether it be text message or email automations or both. It takes time. You've got to incrementally stair step people to that point unless they already just really, really know that they want your product. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are going to be talking about how I convert more leads than my competitors do. Now, this is a really fun episode for me because I absolutely love the sales process, and I just find it really, really fascinating on gathering leads, converting leads into sales, and getting people to be paying clients in your gym. Now, advertising, marketing, paid ads, funnels, they are all so important to this process. But if you cannot actually get the leads that you get to convert, you're really not doing anything. You're just throwing money away to create lists that actually don't turn into anything that generates revenue for you. And what happens in a lot of these circumstances is people will believe that the leads that they're getting are not good leads. And in fact, it's not really the leads that are the issue. It's your systems and processes and sales and closing that's the issue. I actually experienced this just recently. I was running some ads for my dream camp in Florida, and I was getting opt-ins that were not really quality. And I would maintain that they weren't really quality. I kept getting phone calls from really interesting people. I got phone calls from one girl who just kept calling over and over again and asking if we could get her on the Miami Dolphins. And I was like, that's not really what we do. And then I had a mom call me wanting me to take her child who was misbehaving and whip them into shape, which again is not really what we do. And so I clearly was hitting the wrong market and getting the wrong people to opt into my ad, which was a problem with my ad, but not really. It was a problem with the leads I was getting, but that was a symptom of my ad. On top of that, you can be running great ads and be getting quality leads, but not converting them. And one of the reasons that we tend to see is that people give up too early. So my number one piece of advice is that you need to be tenacious. On average, a lead takes 8 contact attempts before they will engage with the sales process. So that means it takes 8 emails, phone calls, text messages, things like that to actually get people to start responding and engaging to potentially be closed and converted into a paying client. The average salesperson or owner gives up after just 2 attempts, meaning that they are giving up before they've even really given themselves the opportunity to close the sale. And I have done this myself. I have had those moments where I've given up way too early, where if I had just been more tenacious, I would have converted more people because they would have been more likely to respond. I would have shown that I was interested. I was really motivated to get this person to be a client. And sometimes it's good to feel wanted. There are some other reasons that we're going to dive into that are really, really critical for improving your conversion on leads. I'm going to dive into those next. But the tenacious thing and the continuing to ask for the sale, continuing to reach out and contact people is so important. And I'm going to relate this back to dating. So when I was in college, there was a guy on our team. His name was Drew. And Drew was a player of all players. But I can tell you, we would always talk about that if we went to a bar and that bar was full of men and there was one girl in that bar, most likely that girl was going home with Drew. Why? Because he was charismatic and he just never gave up. Now, not within the inappropriate level. He understood when someone said no, but he just was tenacious. Can I buy you a drink? No, I'm not interested. Then he would, find another way to talk to someone. And then and the next thing you know, he'd be best friends with this person and they would be interested in him. And it was just because he never quit. He didn't take that initial, I don't want to talk to you as the final answer. Now, he, again, never did anything inappropriate. I'm not trying to say anything like that. It wasn't like a toxic masculinity thing. It was just a confidence thing. He just kept being confident to go up and continue to talk to them and continue to like create conversation. Hey, can I buy you a drink? No. Okay. Well, you're not drinking tonight? No, I am, just not with you. Oh, why not? Why not with me? I think I'm a pretty fun guy. Right. And he had that gift where he just would continue. He wasn't afraid to get turned down. And so many owners and salespeople take the fact that someone doesn't respond to an email or doesn't answer a phone call or respond to a text message as getting turned down. And that's not getting turned down. That's not engaging. You're only turned down when someone unsubscribes or tells you to go F yourself or hangs up on you and is like, I'm not interested, stop calling. Then you've been turned down and you should definitely stop calling. But not responding is not you getting turned down. It takes lots of attempts to get people to engage. And sometimes people just that it takes that attempt. I mean, how many times have you been called where someone's like, this is the third time or fourth time I've called you and you're actually interested in the product, but you just couldn't answer because you were busy, you were at a conference, you were in the shower, all of those things, like all those different things can happen. So it's important not to give up and to continue to be tenacious. Number 2, and this one is probably the most important and the hardest to change, but you need to decrease the opt-in to reaching out and touch point time. So what you want is for it to be as quickly as possible, ideally within the first minute or two of someone submitting a form, opting into your programming, opting into your email list, opting into text messages, that they are getting contacted about what they are interested in from your company. Now, there are a number of automations that can do this for you, both text message and email, but people do know when things are an automation. That doesn't mean that they're a bad thing. People are willing to interact with automations. They understand that they're a part of the game. But we have a very short attention span now. People are spending a lot of time on screens. And if they're out there, if you have a parent who's out there looking for tumbling classes, they're probably not just looking at your website. So if they opt in for information and you are the first person to respond within a minute or two and say, hey, thank you for reaching out. We'd love to hop on a call with you. Click this link, book a call, or click this link to schedule your first trial class, or click this link to buy your 1-month trial. And you are immediately contacting them and immediately engaging with them. You're going to get the sale much more often than you are not. If you wait 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, a couple days to reach out, it's possible that these people have forgotten that they even opted into your program and or they've been sold by someone else. The first person to engage with them and respond to their initial opt-in is oftentimes the person who's going to get the sale, especially if it is quick, if it is fast, because that is when they're thinking about your company. The last thing you want to do is have someone being like, man, I want this thing, right? We live in the Amazon world of buy now. And so people are used to, I want this thing, I go online, I buy it, I have it. We want to be able to offer that or as close to that as we can, because if they aren't getting it from you and they can't buy it now from you and it's some long, laborious process and system and they can't get contacted by a salesperson and all of these different things, then you are going to decrease the likelihood of having a sale. So building automations is absolutely critical, whether it be text message or email automations or both. And or if you have a sales team, having a sales team that's hopping on the phone, like leads come in and boom, they're hopping on the phone. They're calling this person. Hey, this is Dan from Oregon Dream Teams. You just submitted a request for more information about our tumbling classes. I'd love to tell you a little bit. Do you have 5 minutes? And then boom, you advance that sale forward. You've got to decrease that time because 10, 15, 20 minutes, that's a really, really long time in today's day and age when it comes to having people's attention. You only have it for so long. You want to seize the initiative when you have their attention. You don't want to wait for it. Number 3 is to have a low barrier offer. If you have a low barrier offer, you're going to convert more leads into sales. And what do I mean by that? I mean something that is not crazy expensive, whether it be a discount, whether it be a trial class, a trial month, a tour, So for us, one of the things that does great is our tours, and that's a low barrier offer because it's free. So we say, hey, we'd love that you're interested in our program. Why don't you come in for a tour and a skill evaluation, and you'll get to see the facility. You'll get to meet our staff. We'll evaluate your skills, and we can recommend the best possible classes for you. This allows us to follow a prescriptive method when we're trying to sell them. It also shows the intentionality to join because they're going to come to the gym. Then once they're in person, it is so much easier to close that sale than it is over the phone. Can you close sales over the phone? Absolutely. I do it all the time, but it's much easier to sell someone in person than it is over the phone. And so it's also going to show that they're really interested because they're coming to your gym to express that interest. You want to have that low barrier offer to get them in the doors, because if you're like, yeah, absolutely, buy our programming, it's $6,000 a year, you're going to lose a lot of people just on that versus nurturing them into becoming a $6,000 a year client. It takes time. You've got to incrementally stair step people to that point unless they already just really, really know that they want your product. So I was talking to an owner who had run an ad and they had gotten 80 leads in a week, and they were pissed because only one of those leads had converted into a paying client. Now, they had a low barrier offer. They had a way to have a funnel. They were sending out more emails. And so I said, well, how are you engaging with these people? And they were like, oh, well, they go into our email automation and they get an email. It starts out every day for 3 days. And then it goes to I think it went to every 3 days for 2 emails. And then it went to once a week. And then it went to once a month. And then after like 3 months, they went onto their like cold list, not really interested. And I was like, do you get their phone number? And they go, well, yeah, we do, but we don't have an email automation. And I was like, have you tried calling people? Like, the reality is that people get emails all the time. But if you get people's phone numbers, then you can text, then you can call. So I think it's great to have an opt-in that has phone number and email, because some people don't read what they would consider their spam emails. Sometimes emails go to spam. Sometimes you will have people who don't like phone calls and they only like text messages and they don't like email. You've got to have multiple avenues to contact people and not just rely on the one. There is a lot of data on email. Email marketing is great. Email automations are fantastic. There's a lot of data to say that of 100 leads on email, you're likely to convert 3%. So of 100 people that give you emails, you're likely to get 3 purchases from those emails using email automations to re-engage, versus text messaging is closer to 25%. And then phone calls, if you can get them on the phone, you've got a much higher percentage, between 25 and 50% of closing those people into a converted client. So phone numbers are great. Now, you need to make sure that your policies and privacy policies and all of those things are in place and that you're A2P compliant. If you don't know how to do any of that stuff, you should check into it either through gymlawyers.com with Matt Becker, do a little bit of Google research. If you're using iClass Pro, they have a text messaging service. They make sure that it's fully A2P compliant. So there are some resources out there to do that, but it can be a little bit labor intensive. And you just got to make sure that your policies are correct, so you're not getting yourself into hot water with the FTC. What I want you to do as you leave the podcast is I want you to analyze your process. I want you to really, really take some time and say, what does our lead capture to sales interaction to nurture that person into a sale and conversion process look like? What do all those processes look like? And where are their holes? From capture to nurture to close, where are we at? Where do we have shortcomings? And if you don't know what those are, if you don't know what lead capture, nurture, and close are, then get help, right? This is something that I can help you with within NextGen. One of my coaches can walk you through how to set these processes up, how to improve your sales process, how to improve your lead capture, how to dial in your nurture program, how to increase your speed to outcome for your clients, and really dive in. And if you can't get help yet, or you don't have the time to dedicate to that, then sit down with your team and figure it out and get those things dialed in, because this is going to make a huge difference in closing more sales, driving more revenue into your business, and overall improving your company, increasing your profits, and therefore increasing your freedom. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, share it with someone who loved it. Reach out if you have any questions. I'm here for you. You can reach me at dan@nextgenowners.com. I'm also on Facebook. You can shoot me a message. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode.